Hey, what's going on? It's, forgot to shut the door. That's cool.
This is Zach here.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
This is Bosco, you know.
We have a special guest today, Andrew.
Yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller. And I say long-time listener because me, Bosco, and Zach have been hanging out for the better part of 20 years now. And I remember I was listening to one of your earlier podcasts, which everyone go listen. And you guys were saying, oh, it must have been us. Of course it was us who went and did, started a podcast because we're the best talkers. And I feel like you guys just talk over everyone. And so you guys rose to the top and now you have a podcast. But
yeah.
We're master conversationalists.
Yeah.
We hold
But
court.
really, it's just that we're narcissistic assholes who love hearing ourselves speak, but not hearing the playback of yourself speak.
Oh, it's weird. Well, I will say that I was noticing yesterday when we were all talking that the vitriol in our conversations I just don't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
And you always feel like you have something really important to say and you got to get it out. And there's no conversation I have here or in Omaha or anywhere that gives me that level of engagement.
Well, I appreciate that. And I can only imagine that corn's just mainly on everyone's mind.
I hope everyone else can pick up on the vitriol too. Vitriol's important.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, Andrew.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I'll get it started off this week. I brought in a couple topics. So I wanted to bring up my favorite, Amazon. I love Amazon. I think it's great. Just kidding. It's terrible, and it's a company run by the devil, aka
Daddy Bezos.
Jeff Bezos.
Daddy Bezos.
So I saw this. Where was I watching it? I think I was watching it on Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar, and I looked up this article. It was on The Verge, and basically, the title of it was Amazon labels millions of unsold products for destruction. All right, so basically, ITV News in UK, they found stacks of just like boxes and stuff labeled for destruction. Right.
What was in the boxes?
So inside,
TVs?
No, inside were basically they were like there was no rhyme or reason to it. Like, yeah, the quote I got here is, "There's no rhyme or reason to what gets destroyed. Dyson fans, Hoovers, the occasional MacBook/iPad. The other day, 20,000 COVID masks were still in their wrappers." So, it's a lot of shit. It's just basically just, like, a lot of... So, it goes to, like, okay, like, so, like, why are they doing this? Like, why wouldn't they give them away? So, they pledged that they would give, like, some of this stuff away after... It's funny because there's literally no coverage of this in the U.S. It seems like no one in the U.S. is really concerned about this issue. But in Europe, they're like they looked at this fulfillment center in Dunfermline, Scotland, and 124,000 items were labeled to destroy during a single week in April. So
I have a question. How are they destroying this? Are they like putting it in a furnace and incinerating
it didn't go into detail, but I hope it was at least fun.
They're probably putting it on one of their Amazon rockets and launching it into the void of space.
Yeah.
For aliens to find. It's like a shitty Amazon version of like the Voyager probe.
And it's just leftover shit. So basically, so what they were saying in the article, about half of it is returned goods, the other half are items that are still in shrink wrap. So I thought when I was reading this, I was like, so what's the business decision here? Why are these being destroyed? Why wouldn't they just keep them in their warehouses and then fuck it,
resell it or something?
So,
or like donate it to like homeless people.
So like I was
whoever
saying,
needs it.
So out of the 124,000 items that were labeled to destroy, only 28,000 of those items were marked for donation. So
only 28,000 of the ones they also marked to destroy, they were going to donate and now they're going to destroy.
No. So 124,000 items
marked to destroy.
Marked to destroy. Only so out of all the outflow, so it's 28,000 separate.
Oh, okay.
Separate.
Okay.
No, they're like, we're gonna donate this.
And
No,
then they
fuck
just
it, we're gonna burn it.
Last minute, it's more fun to incinerate it.
I mean, of course. I mean, I get that.
I wouldn't put it past Amazon.
So many third-party sellers pay to keep their stock in Amazon's warehouse because the platform is just massive. It's crazy. I mean, like, even like, one of my favorite, that was nice. One of my favorite shows, Shark Tank. They all they talk about now is Amazon's like an included factor into like their business sales, which I find it's just because it's crazy popular. So
dude,
Amazon,
I see those Amazon trucks driving throughout San Jose neighborhoods all the goddamn time now.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Well, it's just the way
They're everywhere.
And those are the.
My sister's addicted to ordering Amazon. She gets like 3 Amazon packages a day. I'm not even exaggerating.
And it's funny. It's like people will like order a bunch of shit. They're like, oh yeah, I forgot I ordered that. Like, and they just end up having like a bunch of random shit. But so basically, Amazon finds it more cost effective to throw out the items rather than to try and resell them if they don't sell, because it might be the problem that they're not selling. So in France they covered it too. So like the numbers, there wasn't a ton of numbers because obviously this is not something they're proud of.
Yeah, they're probably not like keeping track of it. It's not like they just toss it probably all in a pile somewhere and they're like, yeah, that's the stuff we don't need anymore. Like rather than like keeping excruciating details and books about it, be a waste of time. Just throw it in the incinerator.
It's just so shitty, I mean, I hate it when it's always, it's just more profitable to do it this way, so we're gonna do it the shittiest way because it's cheaper.
Well, that's America, baby.
It's
America,
a product
baby.
of mass consumerism, really. Like.
I mean, it to me it speaks to something maybe even more nefarious that there's a lot of high fashion brands that will make a number of products.
Like Fashion Nova.
Or like I think it was like Coach and Gucci maybe, but they'll, to increase scarcity of their products, whatever they don't sell for the year, they destroy. Right?
So like the resale on them is better?
No. It's like because no one bought these products, we're not going to sell them. We're just going to destroy them so that there's less and the other product's value goes up.
So you're saying that they artificially inflate the price.
Well, diamond companies used to do similar tactics to what those high fashion brands do, where they would like have a certain all their diamonds in a vault, but would only release a certain number every year in order to keep diamond prices high. So fashion brands, I could see that, like their clothes, they want to make a artificial scarcity for the product. So just letting the product flood the market decreases its values, supply and demand style, so I don't know, maybe it could be a way of practicing some type of business tactic like that,
Well, if places are paying companies paying Amazon to house their products in their warehouse, I would be pissed if I was a company and Amazon threw out a bunch of my brand new products instead of just putting them back in the warehouse,
Yeah, well, I guess it's just all about cost effectiveness. It's all about the bottom line. That's why there was that whole problem with the Amazon strikes where people were basically reduced down to an algorithm. They had to work like a computer basically, and it's like, oh well, it's only cost effective to be paying you. Like now they're trying to compete with Wayfair, so they're having people assemble furniture now, like Wayfair does.
I'm not familiar with Wayfair.
Me either.
Okay, well Wayfair is like this. They sell like furniture online. Okay, so but yeah, so in order to compete with them, they have to like assemble these things in certain amount of times, and like they're tracked. Like they have to like constantly complete tasks, and it's just like I just hate it when I see people, they love this guy Jeff Bezos and they think he's like, but like the guy is just a fucking, he's a fucking corporate fucking scumbag. And he made a company that prioritizes the bottom line, more than anything, and that's why he's so anti-union, is because he doesn't want his fucking, he doesn't want to pay more. He's only forced to pay more when people like Bernie made him increase wages.
Bezos just exists in the system that he does. It's not like he made things like this. The system was ripe for exploitation in this way, and like I always tell people, it's gonna sound like a little bit of like a boomer rant, but I'm like, what happened to just going to the store? Why do you have to go through Amazon? Like, why does everything have to come? COVID accelerated it, and like, unless you're buying something like really niche that you can't find in the store, which I guess Amazon comes in clutch in that regard, but like, when you're just getting basic necessities and everything delivered to your front door, I mean, you're just feeding into the system that has created these issues. Like, you could just get up and like, go to like your a local Walmart even. I mean, it's not like it's that much better, but it's just like, I don't know, it's like I said, a product of mass consumerism. Like, people made Amazon popular by patronizing their services, using them to buy the things
promising
they want.
Next day shipping.
So maybe we just don't need so many things. Maybe it's time to all become aesthetic monks and stop, give up material possessions.
I need nipple clamps and toilet paper.
Oh, I know you do, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, the issue is, it's always with capitalism, that consumerism, that putting your company's profits first, outranks what is obviously a moral issue, trashing brand new products for the sake of, it helped us save a few bucks here is just so far away from common sense, rational thinking, and it's just, it's twisted.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that America is a system which encourages this bad behavior, right? Like, last week I talked about, the ProPublica tax leaks, and, like, certain people I know will say, like, oh, well, who wants to pay more in taxes, right? It's like, well, they work within the system. That's how Jeff Bezos got a $4,000 tax credit for claiming zero income. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, they are just taking advantage of the system that has so many fucking flaws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You live in America, you want to buy things. Amazon, it's been around for a long time, and they capitalized on Americans' need to buy a lot, to mass consumerism.
I don't know about, like, burning merchandise is finding burning merchandise to be more cost effective. Doesn't that sound like late stage capitalism?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But like what I was gonna say, but one of the last
they just
things,
make room for products.
So one of the only places I found in this article that like tracked it over the year was France. Mm-hmm. They found that that Amazon destroyed 3 million pounds of products in 2018. So that's just like, that's France, which is smaller, right? You can't really, but that's just that small.
That's a lot of burning plastics.
Yeah.
And a lot of fucking needless goods going in the landfills or ending up in the ocean's worst case scenario.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they talk about that floating garbage patch the size of France, many of it could just be stuff that was never even used and was just discarded in an inappropriate manner, and now our planet can be a place filled with things that nobody needs.
Yeah. It's fucking Wall-E, dude.
An island of misfit toys. The great garbage patch of misfit toys.
The great garbage patch of misfit Amazon products.
So there's I brought another topic today. So since we're in Pride Month, Happy Pride Month.
Pride Month.
It's a good thing, it's positive, it's something.
We'll change our logo to be written in rainbow font.
We'll change it.
We gotta get on the virtue signaling train.
But basically, it's more what I wanted to talk about is nothing like anti-pride. I'm not anti-pride. But what I wanted to talk about is how corporations kind of just adopt these like real like social movements and stuff like that, and they think that like just by putting a rainbow colored logo in their Twitter bio means that they're fucking they're all inclusive.
They've done their due diligence.
It's like that meme where it's like it's like where it's like Republicans and it's just a plane dropping bombs, and then it's like Democrats and it's a plane dropping bombs, but it has like a pride flag on the side of it. So I read this article in Vice. That's why I wanted to talk about it. So basically, they've companies have the article, I love the title. It says, companies are using Pride Month to rainbow wash bombs and tasers. So it talked about like many different companies and like what they've done, as far as Pride, and adopting Pride. And, okay, so one was this company, Axon. Never heard of them before. But they're a $9 billion company that manufactures tasers, body cameras, drones, and in their bio they have a rainbow flag, logo, and it says "Protect Love," which I thought was hilarious because they
as you're getting tased,
yeah.
Protect love.
I mean, Raytheon markets itself on inclusion. Missiles made by every diverse person in the LGBTQIA plus community. It's like bombs can be made by... And it reminded me back, I don't know if you saw this, Andrew, but I know you did, Zach, but you remember that video a while back, like, where it was, like, the CIA video, and with the ladies, like, I am intersectional.
Oh, yeah, the CIA was
right.
even cashing in on the,
woke
if you want to call it,
woke
the woke capital or whatever. Yeah. And like they had an advertisement where it was like a recruiting tool where this lady was like, I am a biracial, non-binary, transgender CIA operative. And it was like supposed to be like the CIA and inclusive.
And that's the thing, is that they're basically just using these buzzwords to try and like gain favor, right?
Unless you're a democratically elected socialist government in South America.
Yeah.
In that case.
Okay, wait.
No inclusion there.
Real side tangent, since you brought that up. Did any of you see the clip of Biden where he goes like, where he was talking about Russia and he was like, now, could you imagine if we interfered in elections abroad? Wouldn't that be something?
What a crazy world that would be.
And it's like, oh, you mean all of fucking South America? Yeah. Anytime there's a socialist...
what Guatemala would have to say about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, like Raytheon, yeah. I mean, they literally are one of the biggest weapons manufacturers in the U.S. They even go as far to sponsor, like, Pride events, right? And, like during Pride Month to, and it's funny because protesters, I feel like they know when they're trying to, because they're basically trying to exploit them. They're trying to exploit gay people for their own bottom line, to make it, and and it even goes as far as Apple, Andrew's favorite company. Apple, they have Pride-themed Apple Watches, Apple Watch bands, built by child labor. You know what I mean? It's just like, they're desperate attempts to virtue signal. They're desperate attempts to try to gain this woke capital,
Yeah, it's all just a facade. I feel like many people can see through it. Like, I have yet to meet somebody that's like, oh man, Kellogg's is pro-Pride? Like, I need to go buy some cereal now. Yeah. Like, I feel like most people can see through the theatrics of it. It's just public relations and marketing just putting on a good face. So they could look all nice and fluffy. Or remember that famous picture? Like they do it it's based on the market. This is something that's popular right now that you can capitalize on to get some free publicity, to get your brand looking all nice and cushy and lovely. But, like, it's like that famous picture where it showed that one this one brand, and it had like for Pride Month, it was like, oh yeah, here's all the companies on their Twitter, like all their logo was all of the Pride flags.
It was Bethesda, right?
Yeah, Bethesda, and then when it was showed like Russia or the Middle
times the detail.
Yes, it showed Russia or the Middle East, and their logo was normal. There was no Pride flag on their Middle Eastern logo because that doesn't sell over there. People see that, that's bad for the market.
Right,
you
right.
know?
I find it difficult to speak on as someone who I don't consider myself part of the LGBT community.
Right.
But the question becomes to me like, I nonetheless, even though I'm not part of that community, I like to see those things around because I don't want those people to be ignored.
Right.
But at what point do you stop trading, recognition for all of this just obvious bullshit? And I can't speak as someone from that community, but I do, like, if I was, I'd be like, okay, great, you're sponsoring this Pride Parade. I guess you can do that if you want, if it helps you make a little bit of money, but I don't know at what point you would say, like, okay, stop doing that, stop bastardizing the pride flag to make money.
Imagine your sexuality being a marketing stunt.
Yeah,
right,
they're basically commodifying struggle. They're commodifying it.
Right,
and they're exploiting the people of these genuine movements. Like take for example, like this whole Juneteenth new federal holiday.
Right.
First off, I think I heard Hasanabi bring it up, but he was like, you literally have to be so racist if you don't want another federal holiday. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to be so racist to have another day off and that bother you. And let me tell you, at that Giants game I went to, let me say it was on Juneteenth, and I heard some choice language in the stands. Choice.
Yeah. I feel like I would feel very patronized, and I think that would build a lot of resentment. Even though, hey, it's great that you're acting supportive. Even maybe you're putting your money where your mouth is, but like I said, it's hard to speak on. But I would feel kind of like, are you really helping? Or
the overall point that I was like trying to make by bringing this up is that brands will do meaningless, loud gestures as a substitute for real change. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I brought up Juneteenth is because, Biden gets to go and like, hey, I made this a holiday. But at the end of the day, I'm like, are you doing anything about police reform? Are you doing anything about something that actually matters? It's like, no, you hold up a signed bill making it a holiday, and you're like, yeah, victory. We did it, guys.
What were we saying?
Racism solved.
What were we saying, like, over last summer when all those riots were happening? We're like, no more meaningless gestures. Stop it. I'm sorry that the police killed, 100 innocent people today. But we got you a new mural. Big mural. Like,
hey, it's a George Floyd mural.
Or like painting BLM in the street, or changing a street name somewhere from like some generic name over to Martin Luther King Boulevard. And then they can all just pat each other on the backs and be like, you did it.
Well,
we solved the racist problem in America.
Did you hear about the lady who got in trouble recently? About she was like this porn star. She ended up killing herself because she like took a picture in front of a George Floyd mural flashing her titties, and everyone online like fucking just was like, what the fuck? She ended up killing herself.
Anything for the clout.
Yeah, anything.
Even if it leads you to suicide.
But ultimately I'm just like, like, I see this thing, and I know, like, there's a lot of people who will see it as a victory, and I'm not trying to diminish that. But my point is that you shouldn't accept these empty corporate gestures, because they're the ones that are making the system fucked up. They're the ones that are fucking discriminating against you. Like, see through, everyone is just going to meaninglessly just throw up a pride flag in their fucking bio and think that they're an ally,
Well, it was one of the more cringier examples I saw of this. It was kind of a fail. Was after the George Floyd conviction came through, the Raiders PR Twitter thing.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they posted a tweet in like it looked like a Raider font in all black, and it said "I can breathe" with the date underneath it. It was like,
my God.
Maybe if you're the Raiders, you don't need to have an opinion.
Yeah.
on this, like.
Honestly.
I feel like the better move in the long run, or at least, in my opinion, the better move is just like, why did we need companies to make a comment on this?
They don't.
Yeah.
Did you watch Inside Bo Burnham's new special?
I have not.
Oh, it's worth it. You should watch it. And in one part, he's like it kind of goes between songs and him like just saying stuff like a stand-up comedian in between. At one point, he's like, "Can anyone shut up? Can anyone shut up about anything? Can anyone shut up about anything for any amount of time?" And it's just, not everyone needs to have an opinion about everything every moment.
Especially the companies. It's like Kellogg's, Raytheon, whoever, you guys can stay out of this. The people got this now.
On that subject that corporations having opinions, I was just I came across this picture of a basically what to do in a pandemic from 1918. About the Spanish flu, and it struck me because one of the things that it said was, don't discount the rights of a community, and it got me thinking that, hey, if corporations are people too, then my neighborhood is a person too. If I can treat this group of people like a person that has rights in America where only the individual matters, then don't discount the rights of the community, the people you're serving, and that's one of the things that I feel I see gets lost all the time because it's all just so individualized.
I would say arguably more so that the needs of a community can benefit the individuals a lot of times. Like sometimes, helping individuals is always good, but that would be a massive undertaking to help every single individual. So sometimes, helping a community and working for the betterment of the community can help the individuals just as much as trying to help every single person at one
brother,
time.
I believe in rugged individualism for the poor and socialism for the rich, alright?
Yeah. Toxic individualism, that's what I've been calling it.
Toxic individualism, yeah.
Alright, well, you wanna talk about what you brought, Zach?
Alright, so, you want to start with the shame segment?
Yeah, alright, yeah.
Okay, so I noticed this a couple weeks ago when I was looking through Instagram. It was and one of the ads, obviously there's an algorithm, so this was a targeted ad at me. Someone insulted. It was a...
Oh, wait, hold on. Shame. Alright, you're good.
It was an ad by... I don't want to say the page's name or the company's name because I don't want to plug them because fuck them. But it was basically a targeted ad that offered online counseling. It said something along the lines of, ditch your psychologist, ditch the psychiatrist, ditch doing the legwork in your mental health well-being, have a quick and easy online counseling session and get prescribed for prescription meds that will be quickly and efficiently delivered to your door, for just $1 a day, a whole supply of meds come right to your door, and it kind of made me realize that there's a whole online trend capitalizing on mental health, right? There's TikTok pages that give mental health advice, and not just give mental health advice, but will go as far as to just, in a quick 30-second TikTok video, give you the quote-unquote tools to self-diagnose yourself. And then in turn, you can go and find an online counselor who will prescribe you prescription meds in as quick and as 15 minutes. And so something about this just struck me as fairly gross. It just, in a country that's already pretty addicted to prescription drugs, whether it be anything from opioids to anti-anxieties to ADHD medication, I just think that this is a shady way of furthering that issue, a pretty toxic way of furthering the dependence on pharmaceutical drugs in America. And obviously these ads, and whether it be a TikTok or an Instagram ad that is giving you quick and easy counseling, telling you don't need to see a doctor, and then sending pills right to your door. Their goal is to get you on the pills. Their goal is to sell the pills. It's not to really... They don't give a fuck about your mental well-being. They want you on drugs. They want you doped up, and they want you buying pharmaceuticals, you know? And because it's now on TikTok and Instagram, it's targeted at a younger generation. A generation rife with people that look around and are like, I feel like I have some mental illness. A lot of young people. You know, whether it is because they read stuff online and they're like, that's me. I have that problem. I need some type of medication for it, you know, or whatever. You know, there's a lot of people, young people online who think that maybe they do, maybe they don't, but believe they have some type of mental illness that they need to get treatment for. But the thing with mental health, I think, is you got to put in some legwork. It's not as simple as just throwing pills at the problem, pills that you ordered online. And I just think it's kind of ridiculous that this is like something that's allowed on your Instagram feed. Advertisements for cigarettes are can't be anywhere because they're dangerous, you know, and pharmaceutical drugs are dangerous.
Well, you know,
but there's an ad firm on your Instagram that telling you how quick and easy, and like it'll start with like a personal guy being like, I couldn't do anything because of my ADHD. Now I'm drugged up and my life is so much better. And it just was like, it just seems, to use the word again, toxic, and it's just mass consumerism, in this case with pharmaceutical drugs.
You know what's an interesting story along these lines is that I remember...
I think it's shameful.
It is. It's very shameful.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there was a... when... You remember, like, when there was the whole, like, you know, Meghan Markle and Harry speak to Oprah thing, right? Well, the interesting thing about that is that it's, you know, I guess not a lot of British people watch, like, live American TV, right? But it was being broadcasted in America, right? So, like, British people were watching it, of course, because they're talking about the royal family, but they're seeing, like, all these ads for fucking pills in the commercials, and they're like, the fuck? Like, what the fuck is this shit? And it's just like, in every other civilized country, we have fucking, you know, we have healthcare, you know, for everybody, and that's how these fucking companies, you know, they get this power, and they try to strangle people. I mean, like, have any of you guys seen the Crime of the Century on HBO?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, like, Purdue Pharma and, like, what they did to proliferate the market with opiates.
The Sackler family.
Yeah, the Sackler family. Man, they suck so much, dude. They suck so hard. But,
the
like...
same leniency in prescribing opiates to any patient with any level of pain is the same thing that's occurring with mental health pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, any little itch, any little sore anywhere, take this drug, you'll feel better. That's what led to the opiate crisis in America.
Florida, remember, like, in Florida, they had, like, all those pill mills where they were called pain management clinics, right? And basically all these places, it was basically like the equivalent of, like, dispensaries before pot became legal in California. It was like, you go in, you get a doctor, they give you a prescription, and then you can just basically keep on filling them, and then that's how you get them hooked.
It makes me wonder who is actually prescribing these pills, because, you know, from a clinician perspective, it's so legally risky to do anything for a patient without seeing them and seeing them physically, examining them, you know. It makes me wonder. I mean, and there must have been some law passed that gave these people the right to prescribe these drugs.
So I actually know a decent amount about this. I just from my own personal story with mental illness, you know, like, you know, dealing with OCD, and, you know, when I was younger, right, like, the doctor gave me, I didn't take them, but he gave me, like, they were like pills in a punch pack, right? And it's just like, hey, yeah, this might tide you over for the weekend. Hey, here you go, here, this is tide you over for the weekend, right? And then I eventually got put on them. So, and then when I felt like the medication wasn't right for me, I felt like I was like, you know, I'm working a lot of this shit out in therapy. Like, I feel like I'm, like, the therapy is more therapy. Like, I'm not saying that the pills were... Sorry, we're drinking beer here. It's not that the pills, you know, wouldn't work for that. I don't know. Technically, it's off-label for obsessive compulsive disorder because there's no, I guess, specific medication for it. Obviously, but there's the way doctors there's corruption within doctors is, from what I've researched, is that it's like, they'll take you out to lunches, right? They'll take you out to lunches, and basically it's these pharma reps. They get in good with these pharma reps, and the pharma reps are the ones that give them those punch packs, those like little
samples.
The samples, right? And then if you become a real favorable doctor, then you'll speak at a conference. And it's like similar to like how like all those politicians, they go and they give like a speech, for like Goldman Sachs, and they can make like $250,000 for one speech. It's like shit like that. Like it's very like it's coded. You know what I mean? It's not like out and out. It's like a relationship building, right? Like the pharma reps, and then you like, that's what I've always seen.
It's interesting. I'm biased, but I'm in the medical field, and there's always talk of ethics, about what's reasonable, what's a gift you can accept, and what's that, and at most places I would assume that there is like a code of ethics that you got to follow or you're going to get in trouble, and I'm not positive on what exactly you can do if you're practicing by yourself. I imagine that it would open you up to a lot of liability, which I would also then be interested in seeing how, because it would be in the best interest of these companies to mitigate that liability, seeing how maybe who wrote the law that allowed whoever to prescribe these pills.
That is a good question. I am curious.
Obama.
What makes this legal? I think maybe something of it might have to do with the pandemic, because during the pandemic and quarantining and all that, a lot of mental health visits all became digital. They all became Zoom meetings and whatnot.
Well,
you meet your
that's
counselor online now.
That's what happened with my therapist, is that my therapist was like, if we're going to continue during the pandemic, then we need to do it online. And I'm just like, I don't feel like I'll get the same feeling online, just personally. So I just want to drop it.
But it could be something that has to do with that, because, I never saw these ads pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now, post-pandemic, if it is post-pandemic yet. But anyways, now all of a sudden I'm seeing these ads saying, need quick and easy drugs. Yeah. It's have a quick session and it'll be shipped to your door. There's always that clip in the ad of you opening your door and there's your little box of pills.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, we'll ship them right to your door. Your stimulants, everything you need, and that's just, it's so dangerous. I mean, like you said, all medications come with side effects, and those ones have some of the worst side effects, up to and including heart attacks, whatever.
Well, and they're just getting another generation of people addicted to another pharmaceutical drug, like they did with opiates. So.
Well, like myself, who was prescribed antidepressants when I was younger. There's a high rate of suicide in teens who are prescribed antidepressants. That's been shown.
Yeah.
So, of course, there's always going to be,
there's a high rate of suicide among drug addicts, too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, the internet has become such a strange place as it's matured. From just, chat rooms and people connecting to a more matured business platform and way to sell things, and it's so interesting how fast trends pop up, and then how fast companies have to respond to those trends. I mean, TikTok, even for us, we're in our mid-20s, seems like, it's an app for children.
Yeah.
But how many, huge corporations are keeping up on TikTok so they can get the latest trend and advertise to people? It's
I mean,
weird.
There's just so much shit on there. There's there's weirdly a lot of people tying it back to what we talked to last week, but get rich quick schemes of how people can make quick cash, on TikTok, and there's all, it's it reminds me of that, because we've talked about how annoying Snapchat ads are. And then, I found that one graphic. I don't know why it showed me, but it was hey, advertise on Snapchat. You get, this many people, this many millennials and Gen Zers, use this on a day. So I don't know. It is strange like how like a lot of those trends like just rise and fall, but like the trend of getting people hooked on drugs, man, that's forever. Yeah. That's forever, baby.
So this topic, talking about this in the internet, in regards to the internet, is connected to.
Wait, hold on. You're gonna give me one of them conspiracy theories, aren't you?
Well, it's connected to the conspiracy theory I wanted to talk about this week. It's connected to it.
All right.
So
I'm all ears. I'm listening.
Shame on those motherfuckers peddling pills online. Anyways, the theory that I have for this week it's called the dead internet theory, and it's a newer conspiracy theory that rose up on one of the various Chan boards. And basically, people were talking about how the internet felt much more, it was more separate, but also more vibrant back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, message boards proliferated the internet, pre-social media era. Message boards proliferated, dedicated to smaller communities, but tighter-knit, more vibrant, more colorful communities that were more engaged with discussion about their topic. Be it like when I was a kid, I used to use the GameFAQs forums for video games, and each video game would have a dedicated board.
I even followed like there was an early one on like Joe Rogan's website before he was like huge in podcasting, and I remember it was like that.
Joe Rogan had his Joe Rogan forums back in the day, where there was one of my favorites for drug discussion. Speaking of drugs, Blue Light forums.
Is that still around? I remember going on.
Yeah, I think it is still around now, because back in the day, Google's changed it. This is all connected to the dead internet theory. Has a lot to do with algorithms and how algorithms have pushed out smaller websites, smaller web pages, and everything has become centralized, and it makes it easier to manipulate. And the algorithm dominates everything. So where you used to be able to do a search on Google about a specific drug, and you could be directed to the blue light forums even on the first page of results, or something like Erowid. Now it's all, most of the time you look up stuff about drugs, you're directed to like a helpline, or like, oh, here's a rehab page, and you can't actually get that more specific knowledge and have access to a community. Instead, you're just pushed to some fucking web page for some rehab company where there's no one there. There's no one there. There's no one to talk to.
Aren't there some decent ones on Reddit though? Like as far as drug talk.
Well, Reddit's a part of the dead internet theory. It's everything is centralized. Right. I mean, Reddit has its sub communities, but it's a part of it. Everything now is centralized on major websites. Like the average person on the internet in the 2000s, in the early to mid 2000s, might have visited 10 times more web pages in a week than the average web surfer now is frequenting the same 3-4 maybe web pages at a time. So basically everything is becoming centralized. The algorithm is dominating, and the other part of this is that bots are beginning to proliferate the internet. And the part of the dead internet theory is that bots are actually more common now than living humans, and AI-based algorithms are controlling where real humans go, but bots produce the majority of content, control the majority of websites, and control the content we see. So when you're interacting with various types of content, big pages online, a lot of it is bot-generated or AI-generated content. None of it, there's no real humans behind a lot of web pages or internet accounts that you come across on like the big social media sites or whatever like that. And it's connected. And the other thing is that all these companies have found a way to basically capitalize off the internet and the algorithms, using their bot armies and using the power of the algorithm, and they're using it to actually control people's thinking, to push people into echo chambers, and then use that to influence how people think by pushing people in the echo chambers, segregating the internet, centralizing, but in a way segregating it into clusters in these various social media websites. Everybody's segregated into groups or spheres that where people already all agree with each other and say the same things. And so one interesting thing I was reading about when I was reading this is they think that because this came from the Chamboards, the Chamboards have been they know that the CIA and the feds monitor the Chamboards, but they're wondering how much the government has used bots and used the power of the algorithm to control thinking and hence forcing or creating some change. And you know that
I see Andrew has a very puzzled look in his
that
eyes.
you remember. Okay, listen to this. Someone proposed. Do you remember that Habra Hotel thing?
Where the pool was closed.
Yeah.
And they had people they dressed up in they had the people dressed up in afros and all that stuff, and the pool was closed due to AIDS or something
so
like that.
they were saying
it was racist, but
they were saying that could have been a CIA experiment to see
Really?
how they could gather people and use the collective power of people online to do something for basically in the interest of the controlling force, to see how they can manipulate the way people are thinking, the direction of conversation, and do this as a joke. It was an experiment to see how successful they could be, to round up all these people and be like, let's just use this stupid game and get all these people to surround the pool and hang out there, and it worked. So
absolutely.
It killed the website.
Also in connection with the dead internet theory
well, real quick, I just wanted to bring up that in a way you can kind of tie that to the whole Wall Street's bets thing, and that would, because I would while you're talking about this, I'm trying to think what is the biggest mass movement I remember, and it felt weird, even as someone who fell for a lot of that shit, myself. You know what I mean? A lot of that, I wonder, thinking about it, were there corporate interests behind, the whole, Wall Street bet movement? Were they, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, and how did they use the army of bots to influence that? How did they use this centralization of, because most of that's coming from one centralized place on the internet, so how did they use that centralized community rather than it being a bunch of different boards all over the place of people discussing, money moves or whatever? It's all in one spot on Reddit for people to come in and manipulate the trends, and of course it'll leak into other major social media websites, but the other aspect of the dead internet theory is what you were mentioning, Andrew, about the constant cycle of trends. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that on the internet they're in some type of cultural void, a content void. I like to call it the crypto void. Where there is just a constant cycle of meaningless, forgettable content and trends, and it all kind of cycles, maybe in a little bit of a different way, but it's just constant cycling of memes.
Y'all want to go see Fast and Furious 9?
None of it means anything. A lot of it's very forgettable and meaningless, and maybe gives you just there to distract you. It feels like there's a whole lot of nothing on the internet. I don't know if you've ever experienced this feeling of being online on your computer, and then you're like, I'm going to bed, and you shut your computer down and you lay down on your bed and open the same website you were just on your phone. It's it catches you. It's there's nothing there. What are you looking for? There's nothing there.
There's nothing really substantive. And how many of those trends do you remember? None, right? I mean, they come and go so fast. The evolution of memes has gotten to just this warp speed where they go just instantly.
I mean, memes were, like I said in the Wall Street bets things, memes were used to directly fuking manipulate the stock market. That's crazy.
I don't doubt that. I mean, it hardly seems like a conspiracy theory at all, besides what's just happening. I mean, Cambridge Analytica was involved in tracking people through Facebook to see what their political opinions are, to see who presidential candidates should...
Mark Zuckerberg wouldn't track us, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Well, everything's tracked because... prior in the older internet, it was harder to figure out who the users were. There was less data collection, less algorithms, so the users were less pliable and less harder to manipulate. And now, because of all that tracking, they know who all the users are, they know their habits, their trends, and it makes it easier for the powers that be that are online to control users and to dictate what users see and what they think and what they hear. You see it in politics. You can see it like with the recent thing with for example, like with the anti-vaxxing stuff. People that are plugged into that content, you get caught in these cycles and these echo chambers, and they use it to control how you think, how you see things, You
really want to get into conspiracy theories. How much of this influence is coming from abroad too? People who
let's not get into Russiagate. Let's not get into Russiagate.
The bots,
it's an extremely efficient, extremely low manpower attack that you just go and spread all this random bullshit, to people who are going to eat it up. Then segregate them, and it spreads and spreads.
And you don't even need people to do it. You can use bots. The bots exist, and the bots influence political discourse.
I totally understand. I always hesitate to caution when talking about foreign influence, especially in these ways, because I don't want, especially Russia, because that was the one that MSNBC went on and on about influencing our elections. But I just don't want Red Scare bullshit. You know what I mean?
I agree. I don't want to be hysterical, but I
look. Does it exist? Probably. Does it exist to a certain extent? Yeah, maybe. But I always hesitate with that, because then everything that's dissenting gets labeled under, Bernie Sanders supporters, that was all, those are Russian bots, you know what I mean? Everything gets put under that label.
Well, this brings up an even deeper question about what's real, what's known, and that's the point, in my opinion, right? Yeah. If you really all of a sudden think, well, it's all bots, it's all everything. What do you believe? You only believe what the people who you trust tell you, and then you get mass American cults like QAnon, like a lot of Donald Trump supporters. And he went out and said, everything good about me is true, and everything bad about me is false.
You better watch out. Q's gonna get you that weird autismo Asian dude.
Look, according to this theory, the bots proliferate the internet, and even more so than actual living users. And the bots and algorithms have control over discourse, be it political or otherwise, culturally, whatever it may be.
Well, look, I'll give
and the bots and the algorithm have the power to manipulate people's political views.
And Zach's right. You do see it on Twitter. You would see it a lot with MAGA Mom 2020, and you'd be like, okay, yeah, this is probably some fucking bot account. You know what I mean? Just to black conservatives for Donald Trump. But yeah, ultimately it goes down to your point. Is what at the end of the day, what is real? And I don't fucking know. All right,
empirical evidence.
Empirical evidence. That's right.
An interesting thing I see someone wrote about the dead internet theory is that the internet today feels entirely sterile, and there's nowhere to go and nothing to see, read, or experience anymore. And in one of these things that I was reading about, this also opened up something interesting, is the internet's filled with all these articles, right? But apparently most people don't actually read articles. They just read headlines.
Right.
So everything becomes a game of headlines. And that it's something less than 20% of people actually read articles in their entirety. Well, it's just skim the headlines or skim the bullet points
and move
on.
Find the point you need. But just in researching for this podcast, I was looking for a shame.
It reduces the engagement though online. That's what creates the void. When everything is just a quick trend, lurking, quick read, whatever. You're less likely to engage with the subject, to think about it, and have a dialogue with other living people. It makes everything more empty and more devoid. It propagates the crypto void.
Well, what's interesting, actually, I just thought of this along those lines, is that, so how recently, people are afraid of this conservative, leaning Supreme Court, right? And people are they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade, right? The reality of the situation is if they actually overturn it, it would be, as much as people talk about it, it would be extremely unpopular. You know what I mean? It's just it's a rights issue, But the thing is that, they'll slowly chip away at it, right? They'll slowly chip away at it, it's always like, this is how they start. It's like there's a contest to some kind of decision, you know, whether it be like, you remember with Hobby Lobby where they didn't allow their workers to be, you know, because they were, if they had the health care, they didn't want them to have like contraceptives and like birth control. So, you know, like, you know, everyone's talking about like, you know, like MSNBC, all the, you know, liberal-leaning news media, they're saying like, oh, we gotta worry about Roe v. Wade, and we definitely do. Like, I'm not saying don't, but like, meanwhile, they're like overturning, like they're going like with like antitrust, like some. I need to find the exact article, like what court decision, but there was a huge like antitrust law tying to the 2008 collapse with one of the big investment groups, right? And it was along the lines of I think it was Merrill Lynch. No, Goldman Sachs. That's what it was. And it was like they were pushing a stock they knew was gonna fail to their customers, right? And then it ultimately tanked, and there was a lawsuit based on the people that they were investing for, and they sided with Goldman Sachs, right? So it's like, you know, yeah, like I think like a lot of this shit is like just, you know, it's distractions. It's distracting you away from the real stuff. Like, you know, like I don't know how you guys feel about this. I'm actually curious, but like, what do you guys think about like all these UFO leaks and shit like that?
UFO leaks?
Like, do you think that, because I've been hearing a lot of discussion online, like if like these UFO leaks are like you know, like some kind of like CIA black op to like, you know, distract people or something.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that right after saying like distractions. I mean, to me, like, I guess it's an interesting side note, but it's not exactly what I'm interested in. So
yeah,
I mean, I'm not Tom DeLonge, but
yeah,
like, yeah, I'm focused on you know, one thing at a time, I guess, and I'm trying to get as close as I can to the primary, you know, information, the primary articles about it. And so if I'm going to go get interested in UFOs or hear about it, I can't put much weight in it because I'm not going to devote the energy to go digging through and try and find primary evidence about UFOs. And ultimately, at this point, it's not really affecting me.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Right.
So maybe the aliens are controlling the internet.
That's it. Boom.
And the aliens are creating the memes.
We solved it. The
aliens have their AI, because they have very advanced AI.
Yeah.
And it's created an army of bots, and then the memes, and then the aliens finally come down, and they'll have their hooks in us already through the internet.
And then they can do whatever they want to our buds.
That's what the aliens have done. Yeah. Their next memes you'll start seeing about people fantasizing about having sex with aliens. And next thing you know, aliens are here. Everybody's already keen on the idea because the internet has manipulated everybody into being pro-alien sex. You know? So, think
Honestly,
about that.
You see those aliens, though? Ooh.
I mean, they did sell an Avatar fleshlight, so...
They're chipping away at it, you know?
They're
Slowly but surely.
Hey, dude, James Cameron has 5 more Avatar movies slated.
Yeah, they keep getting pushed back.
Isn't that wild? The first one came out in 2009. I remember when it came out, they're like, we're going to have so many more Avatar movies, and then just not another one. They're just,
no, it's coming.
I was promised another Avatar. Side note, Avatar was the movie that was playing when I lost my virginity, so I don't watch it ever.
Shouts out to Avatar. Mm-hmm. You know, ultimately, I want to bring up the one last thing, though, and just, you know, we'll throw another shame on it. There's no... Everyone's deserving of shame, but that new Netflix show that you fucking showed me...
It's connected to the dead internet.
Yeah.
We're in a content void.
Yeah.
So
why don't you tell them about it, Zach? Why don't you tell them about it?
So companies and everything online is just... They're just trying to bait internet users and into a series of memes to try and push the product.
Right, like that's what we talked about with like the whole Jake Paul and Mayweather fight. Like that whole thing was just something like, and then you know there's going to be a continuation of it. I think it might have actually already happened where it was like YouTuber stars versus TikTok stars. You know what I mean? And it's just a cultural content void, like Zach said.
They're using the internet to influence how people consume content. So with something like this, it just feels so blatantly to me like they're building it just because they know it'll garnish attention online. And so Netflix has a new series coming out. By the way, Netflix series I've always hated, so this is just proves
The
my
Witcher.
point
The Witcher
in
is
that.
pretty good. The Witcher is good. All right.
It's called Sexy Beast, and
Sexy beast.
I'm sitting right between two of them.
Oh yeah. And let's just say it is hot and steamy in this shed.
Pretty hot, but
Yeah, we're in a shed, by the way, in case you don't know. So
in Sexy Beast, they take contestants who are already conventionally attractive. They're
beautiful. They're
there's
beautiful.
no uglies
They're
on
beautiful.
Sexy Beast, but the premise of the show is, is there can you fall in love without seeing someone's real appearance? So they dress these people up in massively outrageous outfits and prosthetics to look like things like dolphins and tigers and little devils.
like the one that was done like a dolphin. It reminded me of like The Shape of Water, like that kind of like prosthetics you know what I mean? It's like that level.
So basically, it's supposed to be like the ultimate blind date, and you go and both contestants are in some ridiculous outfits, so you can't really tell who they are.
You're also going to see how tall they are.
I mean,
You're
you
gonna
can
know
see their body.
body.
You know, there's no tubbies, no chubbies, no fatties on Sexy Beast, because you can see their bodies. And basically, you go on this blind date in this ridiculous outfit, and you have a date dressed up like an asshole. And, and at the end of it, I guess they're supposed to come out and like meet each other after their date, without the mask off, and be like, oh, do you still love me even though I looked like this? Conventionally handsome because I was selected by a Netflix casting crew to be good looking, and and it's just like one of those things where I look at this, I'm like, who asked for this? What is this for? Who needs this? It's just an endless cycle of content and bullshit that's just pumped out online just to get a little bit of attention, just to keep you distracted and keep your focus on the bullshit.
Yeah,
on the bullshit. And
it reminded me of this. Did you ever see that there's another Netflix like style one like this, but it was called Too Hot to Handle, where like the idea behind the show was like we get 12 hot girls and guys, but then we make it so they can't have sex and so like basically there's like this pot of money, right? And if they have sex,
the premise of the show is don't have sex with these hot people.
Yeah, like see if they
I think I heard of this.
Yeah, it was stupid. It's the dumbest fucking shit. But you know what is hilarious? Like during the show they'll have like an Alexa that will be like, Mark and Jillian fucked, and they're like, oh, that's another $1,000 taken away from the pot. Yeah, and it's just, it's just sad and pathetic, dude. And you look, as a connoisseur of trash TV, I love trash TV, alright? I do, I'll eat it up. But I saw this shit, and I was baffled. I was like, this is the dumbest, because here's the thing, anytime one of these shows tries to have it's this, but with a twist, and it's like, you know what I mean, it's like, like whatever they're, like, what's a good example? I'm trying to think, like, was it Love Island? Remember we were watching one of those, like, like the whole idea behind the show is like, oh, let's see if your significant other can, you know what I mean? And they talk about it like it's the process.
That was the one where the couples go to the island and then the couples are separated and they go to another island where there's a bunch of very attractive suitors trying to tempt them into cheating or leaving their partner.
And it's crazy.
Whoever thought that up
is sick. It's sick. And the people that agreed to it too, like, what the fuck? Why? Anything to be on TV. Yeah, anything, but
anything for the clout.
But but that's the point at the end of the day. The end of the day is just like how we've just cheapened our everything just feels so cheap. It's just a lot of it feels cheap. I mean, I joked about it, but there's a Fast and Furious 9 that's coming out.
It's where the dead internet has brought us.
It's funny. It's almost a parody of itself. It reminds me, of one of the main messages of Andy Warhol of just repeating these things until they're just meaningless, right? And things have just become this so outrageous nonsense that if somebody came out and told me this was actually an art piece to show you how ridiculous everything is, I'd be like, yep, that makes sense.
Well, I had a buddy who made a remark to me, and he's just he's like, you know what, I'm fucking sick and tired. Shout out to Peaches. Shouts out. he was telling me, he's like, I'm so sick and tired of people starting a conversation, be like, so I saw this on TikTok, and I'm just like, yeah, that would fucking bug the shit out of me too. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's just a void. It's just
it's just a cycle of meaningless trends recycled over and over, the same content.
And I'm not saying this because I'm old. I'm saying this because it's vapid. It has no content. It has no merit.
Well, TikTok is an app for children. And it's funny, I guess the question is like, where...
Well, then how come there's a lot of horny adults on TikTok?
Tell that to the hillbilly
there's a lot of
meth
children
heads.
on TikTok.
Yeah. Dude, oh man, there'll be like some where it's like two hillbilly meth heads and they're like caressing each other, singing like a sultry country song.
This for me, this whole thing, it really blurs the line between like, you know, entertainment and you know, something with an agenda. You know, what should we all rather be doing? You know, what should we all, you know, say, oh, entertainment is pointless and we should all be working on academic efforts or something all the time, right? There is a lot of this entertainment, and yeah, it's crazy and yeah, it's distracting, but it's entertainment, you know. A lot of these things to me are excusable because they're not, you know, overtly, you know, asking me to like, hey, instead of paying attention to this election, watch fucking Sexy Beasts. You know, even though that's the main result, they're not forcing me to do it. So, you know, the same thing with like the Logan Paul fight. You know, it's like, okay, it's fucking entertainment, whatever, it's bullshit. You know, I think what you were touching on earlier is a lot more interesting, that the promotion and the pushing and the filtering of people to the entertainment is the issue, and away from you know, genuine discussion, genuine you know, meeting in the middle, things like that. The people making these shows, I can't have a ton against them. The people pushing others toward just pay attention to that, that's where I have a big issue.
And that's where the dead internet comes in. It's the bots and the influencers behind it, and the algorithms primes people to be artificial consumers, you know, and creates the market itself, you know. In researching a little bit about this topic, I was thinking of the Karl Marx quote, and yes, I'll quote Karl Marx on the second podcast.
Hell yeah, bro. Wait, look at the Bernie portrait. Look at the Bernie portrait and say that.
Karl Marx said in his time, religion is the opium of the masses, you know, and, you know, basically that, like, religion funneled people into one way of thinking, and
content is a religion.
The internet is the opium of the people nowadays, you know, and basically the idea is, you know, it keeps people sedated, it keeps you distracted and easily manipulated, and makes it easier for the powers that be to control the masses because they're sedated through the internet, or in Marx's time, religion. They were easily manipulated. Their thoughts were controlled through religion,
shouts out to Martin Luther.
And here in our time, I feel like we're seeing something similar that, you know, Karl Marx alerted people in his time to, but just with the internet being in place of religion now, you know, as a way to manipulate the masses and to keep them sedated in some way through constant...
There's some sort of polarizing aspect to it too, you know. I mean, we've noted this multiple times. We have a big Snapchat group with a bunch of our friends. There's 10 members or something.
Shouts out 10 dicks and an asshole.
And it's so easy to strike sparks and start an argument where nobody can agree on anything. And then if you were to get those same 10 people in a room in person, you find common ground almost immediately.
Well, that's why I like that show Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar, because their whole point of the show is like being like, let's hate each other a little less and let's hate the elites more, because the elites are the ones who fucking do this.
And
shit.
The weird thing with talking with friends online, I don't know if anybody else experiences this, is it's like so much different than talking with them in person that sometimes it feels like you're not even talking to the same person that you'd be talking to online. Again, going back to the theory, the internet's lifeless. Even the users themselves, the real living people, are like a product of the algorithms, and have, you know, online they themselves are lifeless, you know. And you can see it, like sometimes there'll be accounts on social media of someone you know, even in person, and maybe they're active for a while, then all of a sudden they're gone and they're silent for extended periods of time without, you know, much notice. And of course it's the internet, you know, so, you know, people come and go as they please without, you know, giving a goodbye. But you know, it's just it just stands to make the internet and online communication in general just feel just more lifeless than, despite it being filled with a lot of people, it just is more lifeless than we want to believe.
Well,
it's,
so is the internet dead, Zach?
I believe the internet is, I don't know if dead's the right word. I would say it's more stagnant and sterile than...
It rubs off on you and makes you that way.
It's colorless. It's colorless, the internet. You know, where...
It's got no soul!
Back in the day, there is more variety. Now we're all pushed to the same social media websites day in, day out, reading the same content generated to us by bots, secret influencers, and the algorithm. And it's become stagnant, sterile, and just bleak and gray. And that color and life that may have been there in the early days when it was still almost a pioneering grounds online is now become
a corporate shithole.
Yeah, become a place of control and devoid of intellect or artistic expression in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, fucking Reddit removed r/the Donald and Chapo Trap House. You know,
there you go.
There you go. There you go.
We're all under the control of the big social media websites now.
Mind control.
They control the internet. The internet is cold and lifeless.
The end.
Much like
the internet is cold and lifeless. The end.
Yeah.
Time to unplug.
Yeah. Well,
go outside. Look at the birds.
Yeah. Maybe see if there's some stars out there.
Get in the shed together and do a podcast.
Yeah, get in the shed, get all sweaty.
And then put it online just to be buried in a swath of other content. We're just making something here just that'll go online and probably be dead within, you know, how long? It's just something to be buried in the endless stream of content.
Our friends will listen.
Oh, well, I hope so, but, you know, for the most part, most content is buried.
We already have fans.
Content's buried so quickly.
It's a time capsule.
Yeah.
You know, only to be discovered by internet archaeologists in the far future.
If they even can find this stuff, there'll be billions billions, trillions of pages and bullshit. And
3 jerk-offs sat in a shed and talked about.
It might as well just be static. In 100 years of internet archaeologists, they might as well just be sifting through the static and an ocean of nonsense.
Sounds like an interesting job.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Cool.
We're just fossils. Internet fossils.
Internet fossils.
Yeah, well, that was a good talk, gentlemen. That was good.
Thank you
that was
for
good.
having me on.
We're gonna well, you're gonna see Andrew. We're gonna do a discussion about one of our movie reviews. You know, we like, you know, me and Zach were huge fans of film. You know, we love movies, and this one in particular, we got into a pretty heated argument with our friend Andrew over here.
Yeah,
the doctor of film.
The podcast will actually just be the latest installment of this argument, which has been going on for multiple years at this point.
But it will be entertaining. I promise you that. All right, so you know, take it easy. Have a good one.
So long, everybody. Hi to the archaeologists.
I love you. Look at everything.
Slaves to the algorithm.
Without me.